along the way, that should be your goal, is to master this, to be really great at it. Not just great at driving the truck, not just great at setting the business up, not just great at dealing with customers, but great at all of it. And so that's our goal and our hope on doing this program. Um, there's six uh, parts to this webinar series. The first one was big picture. We covered that the last time. You can find that on Let's Truck and on Truckstop. Lots of fun just talking about the big picture because you kind of want to understand kind of what are you getting into. Today's is Pathway to Independence. How do you get there? Well, here's Mr. Rutherford. Number three, you're going to see on March 19th, we've got How to Survive Your First Year, which is super, super important. Number four, man, we live in a data world. How to use data to your advantage and how to use these technology platforms to your advantage. Because if you know them really well, you can move lightning fast and create better profitability. Number five, which is something that there's a lot of challenges with this. How to choose profitable freight because everybody's business is different. There's not two operations that are exactly the same. And so what's unique about choosing profitable freight for your business? The last one is creating value for spot carriers. In other words, for brokers. In other words, how are you going to work with brokers and even shippers in this industry? So that should cover, and remember, these are high level. We're not getting into the nitty gritty. We've got a Let's Truck has an extended program for you to get into to really get down into the basics. We're only here for about 45 minutes to an hour, and so you certainly can't cover real deep into these things. But we're going to kick this bad boy off today, and Mr. Rutherford is live right there. There's his nice looking face, live from somewhere in Oregon. And Kevin, great to be on with you today, talking about the pathway to independence for owner operators.
Well, great to be here. I just had to practice intensely my new mantra, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast, because we've been on this for 45 minutes getting
Right.
ready. Everybody's all set. I hit the go button and everything on my computer just quit. And I had to restart, re-log in, re-register, reopen my
Right.
keynote, and I did it nice and calmly and smooth. So we're good.
Oh, congratulations.
Moving
When you
steady.
stay calm, you can get things done faster. And for
We're
everybody
good.
on the call today, remember we are recording this. This will go on Let's Truck. This will go on Truckstop. For everyone that's registered, will have access to it. And also, Alan, there's a unique study or read along. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we're going to kick this thing off.
There is. Thank you, Brent. So as we kick it off, we will share the workbook that goes along with this. I'll also share the landing page associated to the entire Trucking Mastery series. So anyone who's on, there is an entire webpage dedicated where you could get all the resources needed. There's an email that will go out as well with the attachment. So several different ways that you can access all of this information at your fingertips on the web. So this is our number 2 of 6, as Brent was sharing, for Trucking Mastery, navigating the road to success. Today's theme is Pathway to Independence, becoming your own boss. To get us started, for those of you who don't know our guest speakers today, Mr. Kevin Rutherford from Let's Truck, and then Mr. Brent Hutto with Truckstop. If you gentlemen want to do a brief introduction, maybe Kevin, we'll start with you.
Sure. I'll give you the quick Reader's Digest version and just tell you where I've been. In the industry, I started with my first truck at 22. I was third generation. My grandfather was an owner-operator. My father was an owner-operator. But they both struggled a lot. And I didn't want to do it in the beginning. And then I got into it and fell in love with it, but realized that way too many hardworking small fleets and owner-operators just struggle way more than they need to. I've been a broker. I've been an agent. I've done a lot of things in the industry, and I've helped a lot of people. But everything I do today is really focused on really helping truck owners live their best life. And today we're going to talk about just a big picture part of that.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Brent Hutto, I have been in this industry for more than 25 years. Friends with Kevin almost every year except one. So it's been fantastic. And I started out with Overdrive Magazine for 15 years, and I've been with Truckstop for 12. And I've had the luxury and the honor to work for two institutions that are completely focused on the owner operator. Overdrive being the voice of the American trucker, and Truckstop being the first load board that ever created an opportunity for carriers to get all the information in the industry about loads and the understanding loads, information they'd never had before. So honored to be here and be a part of this thing. I learned really quickly when I was at Overdrive, and Kevin was a big part of this, is that in order for truckers to be able to do more of what they love to do, which is to drive a truck and be independent, understanding the business part of it is mandatory. It's in mandatory in any business, but boy, is it mandatory in ours because you got to manage so much, and then you're out on the road. Not, no 2 days are alike, and so he and I helped bring the Partners in Business program to the marketplace, which was lots of fun. And now we're actually doing more tangible things and bringing higher level understanding and higher level ability to understand your business and operate your business. So I'm looking forward to Pathway to Independence today. So Kevin, let's kick it
Hey,
off.
Brent.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna do what I do best. I'm gonna break the plan that we work so hard on.
Well, it wouldn't be Kevin Rutherford if you didn't break the plan.
Because you just said something, and
Yeah.
this is the first time I've had this thought. And you and I have been doing this kind of stuff for 25 years, on stage, on screen.
Right.
Here's the thought I had. What you said isn't wrong, but there's a better way of saying it.
Bring it on.
Here's a quick analogy. The way that we were taught drugs in school when I was growing up was, if you take drugs, you're going to die. And the problem is, you look around and you see a lot of people taking drugs and they're not dying. And then you start to believe, well, they're just lying to me.
Right.
And you said that it's mandatory. I think it is, but honestly, it's not.
Yeah, you're
There are
right.
there are lots of people that don't do it, and they're still in business, and people look around and go, they're lying to me. My
Right.
brother-in-law has been doing this for 40 years, and he's never even talked about business, and he's still in business. So we should probably explain that a little better and say, I'll go back to my phrase, I want the people on here to live their best life. I want
Right.
them to be healthy. I want them to be successful. I want them to have financial choices. And if you want all those things without the struggle, then this is absolutely mandatory. And this is how you get there.
Right. Fantastic. Hey, great way to put that. And so to cover a little bit more, and I thought about this, but I didn't cover it. Kevin is the boots on the ground. He's done it. He's experienced it. He can bring that. I'm the marketing and sales person, and I'm the data guy when it comes to this thing. So I've never owned and operated a truck, but I feel like after 27 years that I'm as much trucking as anybody else is because I love this industry and I've been a functional part of it. So yeah, great way to put that, Kevin. I appreciate you saying that. So let's kick off with the first slide. Understanding independence in trucking. So super important to get yourself set correctly as you're on the pathway to independence. So Kevin, kick us off with these bullet points.
Yeah, this leads right into another theme of mine this year, because I do this so much and I talk about it. I get frustrated with all the terms we use.
Yeah,
We're going to clarify some terms, and I'm going to catch me when I screw this up, because I will. I've been saying it the same way for 40 years. We talk about truck drivers. We talk about lease purchase drivers. We talk about leased on owner operators. We talk about independent contractors, small fleet owners. If you get your authority, are you a carrier, an owner operator? It's confusing and it takes too much time, and I hate saying all the words.
Yeah,
I can boil it down to two.
Right.
You could be a truck driver, you could be a truck owner.
Right.
If we need to clarify it more than that, we will. And it's kind of what we're talking about here. Let's talk about this big difference between just three categories.
Right.
Company or employee driver.
Right.
Owner operator, which we could now call a truck owner.
Right.
And getting your authority, which we could still call a truck owner. We'll differentiate those two here. You're an owner operator leased to a carrier running under their authority. You get your authority, you become a carrier. So that's some clarity on the terms. The bigger picture is what that means in the real world. Here's why we really struggle with this. You could wake up Friday morning as an employee driver, and your day is, you wake up in the sleeper, probably in a truck stop somewhere, do your truck stop stuff, you get out on the road, you need to know where you're going, you got to fight traffic, you got to back up to a dock somewhere and get loaded or unloaded. We know what our day looks like. You could then on Monday morning, it's that easy to get started in this industry, you could be doing the exact same day, but now you're a truck owner. And your day doesn't look all that different, so you don't do anything different. And that will be your first step on the path towards failure or mediocrity. You might not fail. You're certainly not going to be really great at this. So the first thing we need to talk about in the differentiation of these roles is just mindset. You have got to change that mindset. You are not an employee driver anymore. You are a business owner. And Brent, how many times do you hear this word in our world, the small one truck carriers or small carriers, how often do you really hear the word customer?
Yeah, not very often at all, man.
Not almost never. And if I can teach you one thing today, just one, that
Mhm.
this is it. When you become a business owner, the customer is everything.
Right.
The customer is everything. And if you're confused about who your customer is, let me help you. Whoever pays you. I was going to say who's ever check you cash, but we don't cash checks anymore.
Right.
Whoever pays you, I don't care
Right.
how they pay you.
Right.
The party that paid you directly is your customer. If you buy a truck and lease it to a carrier, who's paying you, Brent?
Well, if you buy a truck and you're leased to a carrier, the carrier's paying you.
And now, are they our customer?
In a sense, they are your customer. Yes.
Absolutely. And if you have a business with only one customer, you should spend an awful lot of time making that customer very happy and providing a lot of
Yeah.
value to them.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
how many, in reality, how many owner operators treat their carrier that way?
Yeah, I'd say that's one of the biggest struggles in the market, Kevin, where understanding how to treat your customer. And when you're a leased on owner operator for a fleet, you're a 1099 contractor. And so you are responsible for all your business. You just don't have to go and get your own freight. So super important to really kind of get
And
that in your mindset.
here's the first excuse I'll hear. Well, you don't know my customer. They're just jerks.
Right.
You don't know what they do to me. They treat me horribly. They don't
Right.
care. I get that. Happens all the time.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
a
Sure does.
business owner now. Go
Right.
find a customer that you can provide real value to. And if
Right.
you can't find one, you might want to rethink whether you should be in business or not.
Right. Yeah. And I love the third bullet point where it talks about realize the major responsibility of you're now responsible for every piece of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And number one, every decision you make should be geared towards providing better value to your customer.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
one more point, because I know we do have to move through these pretty
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah.
The next scenario, you get authority and become a carrier, where we're going to talk about where you get your freight from. Primarily, it's going to be load boards and brokers. We'll give you
Right.
some strategies. Brent, if I go to truckstop.com and I find a load, what are the odds that load's I'm getting it through a broker?
Oh, good. It's going to be 97%. We have some
Okay.
shippers on there, but it's predominantly going to be brokered freight. Absolutely.
So in this scenario, we'll cut to the chase. Who's my customer now?
The broker is your customer, Mr.
So
Rutherford.
don't get me started on broker transparency, but the last thing you want to do is try to regulate your customers.
Right.
You should be focused on providing value to them. And if you
That's
say
correct.
the brokers are all crooks, then I'm sorry, they're not. And if you can't change that mindset, you're also in the wrong business. By the
Right.
way, Brent, we're going
Yeah.
to spend a lot of time trying to talk people out of this, aren't
Yeah, well, I appreciate you
we?
saying that. Where it says in the second bullet point, weigh the pros and cons. And I know we need to move to the next slide, but I want to talk about this really quick. I think in business, anytime you're taking on something new or you're trying to start a business, it is really healthy to try to talk yourself out of it. Like spend time saying, why should I not do this? Because if the cons outweigh the pros, then but you've got this real desire, sometimes your own emotions can take over and you can wade yourself into a bad decision. The other part, Kevin, and is that I find that so many people today, when they're starting any endeavor, especially a business, really don't turn to wise counsel. Your best friends aren't your wise counsel. Fellow truck drivers are not your best wise counsel because they're in the business. You got to talk to somebody who's outside the business that can help you really look strategically and
Uh,
specifically at the numbers to say, should you do this? Are you ready to do this?
I'm going to make an outrageous statement because that's what I do. Um, I'm going to insult a lot of people, and that's okay because that's also what I do. Your cousin, your brother-in-law, your brother, your father, who have been owner operators maybe for many years, may not be good counsel at all for a
Yeah.
couple of reasons. They may even be really good at what they do. They may not be good at explaining it. That's a whole different
Right. Yep.
skill. And
Yep.
many times, I'm going to go back to this. I don't do this to help people be mediocre and stay in business.
Right.
I want people to be the 1% in their industry.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that from somebody who's been doing it a long time, just kind of okay.
Well, you've chosen to, if you want to become an independent owner operator, you've chosen to join the 1% because only about 1% of all truck drivers ever become an independent owner operator. Let's go to the next slide on what's the next aspect of this, building a financial safety net. Boy, is this important, Kevin, and tell us why.
In reality, there's only one real reason businesses go out of business. They run out of money.
Right.
That's it. Everything else,
Right.
it just boils down to you ran out of money. You might have 87 excuses, but all of those excuses are going to be leading to the fact that you ran out of money. Because if you still had money, you'd still be doing it.
Yep.
So there's so much I could talk about here, and there's so much detail we could get into. I actually have an index, a score I built for this.
Oh, fantastic.
And I call it the SPY score. It's the Success Probability Index. And I only need 2 numbers. And I can tell somebody what their odds of succeeding are, how close they are to being able to launch the business. Here are the 2 numbers, and I don't have a lot of time to explain them. Go ask Grok or OpenAI or ChatGPT. Look up net worth. If I know somebody's net worth, and then if I know what it costs them to pay the bills, eat, and keep the lights on for a year or a month, but we're really looking at the year. I've seen people who have almost no cash, not a lot of cash, and that's going to create some risk, but they also live really frugally, and they could survive on $40,000 a year. I can make that work. I've also seen people who have, lots of assets. They might have a net worth in their 40s of $500,000 because they've saved a lot of money. And they don't live very frugally. It costs them $100,000 a year to maintain their lifestyle. I can make that work as long as they realize we're going to have to dig into their assets. If you don't have either one, you'll show up on the SPY score with a very low score. And that doesn't mean you can't do this. It means you have a different path. And the first path is we have to get that score up. We have to get your assets, your net worth up, and we have to get your cost of living down until we hit that level where I can say, look, you've reduced your risk of failing down to 25%, and that's a pretty good place to be for an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let me give the watchers today a sort of a nuts and bolts part of this. So in transportation, and I learned this many years ago through my time with Kevin and my time with Overdrive and really understanding the business aspects of your operation. There's 2 major things that are going to put you out of business. And if you're not saving for this emergency fund and setting realistic goals for your business and understanding your cash flow, there's 2 things that are going to put you out of business. Number 1 is a major mechanical failure of your equipment. So you might lose an engine, a transmission, a wheel end. You might hit something on the road and it's wrecked, and your truck's out of business, which means your revenue is out of business. And that typically bankrupts most operations. But one that most, and Kevin, this is one reason why I love the idea of the other part of Let's Truck. The other thing that will put you out of business is a health crisis. You get sick, we get older. The average owner operator is 57. All right, I'm 57 years old, and I can tell you that I've experienced more things in the last 5 years than I did in the previous 50 years. So the idea that you got to make sure that you're managing your health, just like you're managing your equipment and your truck, so you don't have things that jump on, then you have that emergency fund to catch you.
Let's go back to a topic we've touched on a couple times. We're not talking about the fact that, well, my uncle's 71 years old and he still drives a truck.
I get that.
And that's because these are really hardworking, tough people.
They are. Yep.
What I'm talking about is being happy and healthy and vibrant and thinking clearly and running your business well and being able to satisfy and provide value to your customers, not just getting through the day and still driving a truck.
Yeah, for sure.
We really want to focus on optimizing all of these things, not just saying, well, yeah, I still got a truck, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to the next thing, because the next thing is as important and relates to a financial safety net. Our next part of this episode is something that's really important, because you can get really emotional about this, is selecting the right equipment. I mean, look, I watch owner operators, and boy, do they love those long hood, brand new trucks. They're so beautiful and everything, but selecting the right equipment. Kevin, talk about the importance of selecting the right equipment.
Today, if anybody is in this event and they are thinking about buying their first truck, this is where I can get real specific. I'm going to give you your budget. I shop the truck market every week, at
Right.
least every month. I know what the trends are. There is no reason whatsoever that you should be looking at more than spending $25,000 to $35,000 on a truck right now.
Fair. Yep.
That's it. There are beautiful bargains and real value trucks in that price range right now.
Sure.
Here's the thing. If you say, oh no, man, I've been a company driver for 35 years. I hate that. I want my own truck and this is the truck I want. Good, then go earn it. And here's how you're going to earn it
Right.
without all the risk. You buy
Yep.
that truck now and we have another market downturn, you're going to be one of the catastrophes we've been talking about for the last
Right.
year. If you buy a $25,000 or a $35,000 truck, you get through your first year and prove how much profit you can get to the bottom line. If you want to reward yourself and start upgrading your truck, you can. Don't
Yep.
take that risk in the beginning.
Yeah. I like to think of it this way, Kevin. Typically everybody wants to own a home. And you have to be very careful about buying, especially your first home, because you do not want to be house poor.
Yep.
Because your home expenses or your home cost should only be a certain percentage of your overall revenue that you bring, your net revenue that you bring in every month. And if you overextend that, and a lot of people do, especially people that have an opportunity to do like bigger things when they've been in their market 10 years or longer, like doctors and lawyers and financial analysts and stuff like that are going to make a lot of money eventually, but don't make it now. And so it's the same thing about buying a truck. Buy that less expensive truck, run it for the first 5 years, get really great at your operation, increase your cash flow dramatically, and you will be fundamentally much happier with your operation.
Let me address one more thing on that bullet point, because we have new, used, and leasing.
Yes, sir.
Leasing can get really technical. I don't want to go through all of that, but here's what I will say. There is almost never a reason for a one truck or small carrier to lease.
Yeah, I agree.
And I will go one step further. On your first truck, forget the word even exist.
Right.
We're not even exploring leasing on the first truck, and we will probably never explore it your entire career.
Right.
All right.
Fantastic. Great point. I appreciate you bringing those things up. So let's talk about something else so we've talked about financial parts. In other words, understanding your cash flow and getting yourself set up right, selecting the right equipment. Now, there's another major aspect of this thing that a lot of owner operators kind of, well, you can tend to overlook it a bit. And so our next topic is setting up your business structure. In other words, how you're going to operate and what you're going to do yourself and what you're going to sort of lease out or use other services. Right. So talk about what the importance of setting up your business structure, Kevin.
Brian, I'm going to break the rules again.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
I just have to. And if I have to leave something else out, we'll do that. I'm really good at prioritizing what they need to hear.
Sure.
The second bullet point on the last slide, I'll go back to it. Consider
Yep.
fuel efficiency and maintenance cost.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the key. Yeah. These guys that want to run around, I don't care. I get $3 a mile. I don't care if you get $30 a mile. The only thing that matters is the money that goes into your pocket. This is the single biggest consideration in your cost per mile. Right. I can shave 50 cents off the cost per mile on most owner operators on the road today by focusing on this. That means I could pull a load that they want to pull. I could pull it for 50 cents less and still make the same profit they did. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pull it for 20 cents less because I'll get the load every time and the customer is going to love me and I still make more profit than they do. That's about as deep as I can go, but that should be your sole focus when you buy and set up your equipment.
Now, I appreciate you going back to this. We see this all the time on Truckstop where because they don't know their cost per mile, they'll choose freight and it'll be not as profitable or not profitable at all. And I'll say this to you, if you have a great operating ratio of your truck, in other words, if you've got your cost down to a minimum, we were on your show a few weeks back and a guy called on, he said he had an 85 cent per mile operating ratio. And I was like, I've never heard of somebody so low. Here's why I point out that you want to be as efficient as possible. It allows you to take a lot of freight that others can't because you can be profitable at that and it can get you to a place that you can get that super profitable load.
Let's talk about something else. We go back to please your customer, satisfy your customer, provide more value.
Yeah.
Value is a combination of price and service.
Right.
And Brent, when you are the customer
Right.
and you get really outstanding service at a lower price, does that make you really happy?
Oh, phenomenal. Yeah,
That's that
absolutely.
we're gonna provide the best service possible. That's a
Yeah.
given. When we are so efficient and we set up our business and our equipment right, that we can now do it at a lower
Right.
price than the competition,
Yep.
we
Yep.
will win
Yep.
every time.
Well, and then even in challenging markets, I think about the market we just went through for the last 26 months, which is rates were way down in the spot market for super small carriers. And so if your operating ratio is very low, you can still make money and enjoy doing the things you love to do, and not put yourself in a situation where you might make bad decisions. So fantastic, Kevin. Let's
So
go on to setting up your business structure and talk through that, because I think this is you've talked, as a matter of fact, when I hear you speak, this is something you spend a lot of time on, about understanding the structure, and then do the things
guess
that
what?
inherently you do well, and let others do the things that they do well.
Guess what?
What's that?
I have spent a lot of time on this in the past, and
Right.
I'm gonna challenge myself here. Somebody set a 60-second timer.
Go for it.
All right. Everything you see on the screen, let me clear it
Right.
up. We're going to start off as an S corp. That's new. It has to do with inflation and a couple other things. I'm not going to
Yep.
get into it. We're going to start as an S corp. Forget registration and licensing. Places like Truckstop can help with all of this. So just put it out of your mind. You don't need to know anything about this. And in your first year, I don't care if you worked for H&R Block for 37 years, don't do your own taxes.
Right. Yeah. For not. Absolutely
Done.
not. Yep.
Done. Did I make it?
Trust the professionals. Here's the thing, and I learned this a long time ago. If you don't have expertise in something, you need to hire the expert for it that helps you, because they're going to be
It,
able to navigate the corners and the dark things and things you don't know about. And then once you've done it for a while, and you can become somewhat of an expert, then you can do part of it or maybe all of it. But the last thing you want to do is go do something that A, you're not good at, B, you don't know enough information on. And in trucking, if you're doing those things, you're not driving the truck, which is taking your profit. There's taking more profitability away from you.
Brent, I'll just use a personal
Right.
example of this. How long I have been doing tax returns. It's how I got
Oh
started in this
goodness. Since
industry
I've known
other
you,
than trucking,
yes,
right?
since 99.
I,
Right.
I started and sold 2 accounting and tax companies in
Right.
my career.
Right.
I don't do my own taxes anymore.
Yeah, I don't do mine.
I,
Yep.
my personal or my business.
Yep.
I could do them in my sleep, but I don't want to use my
Right.
brain power or my
Right.
time for that. So focus on the trucking right now. Focus on the
Right.
customer right now,
Yeah.
and let somebody else do this stuff.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's transition to the last slide. So so let's talk about this is my favorite. This is my favorite slide, because we put it last, but a lot of times in trucking, people try to put it first, because
Or they ignore it completely.
right, or they ignore it completely. Right. So notice it says clients. Clients are people that are your customers. All right. Whether it's the broker, whether it's the shipper, the person paying you, as Kevin said in the beginning, is your client, your customer. And we all know that happy customers typically mean more profits to you, because they're willing to pay you more, because they trust you more, or it's more efficient for them to do business with you. So, Kevin, let's talk about the very first steps, as the slide says, when you're
Yeah.
finding those providers of freight for your operation.
And let's be real.
Yeah.
Clients is just a foo-foo word for customer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
that's all it
proper
is.
word. It's a proper
Yeah.
word for customer.
Yeah. Right. So let me give you my strategy on this.
Okay.
So my strategy is your biggest tool in the beginning, and it will be a tool you will use forever for the most part, is the load board.
Right.
It's why I
Yep.
partner with truckstop.com. They have the best load board. They have the best tools. They believe in the owner operator. That's why they support
That's
me when
correct.
I do things like
Yep.
this. That's why I
Yep.
partner with them. The load board is step number 1. But I just want to take a little time on this. The load board is going to be your primary tool. And in the beginning,
In
you're
the
not
beginning.
going to
Right.
use it to
Yeah.
find loads. You're going to use it to find brokers.
Right. Correct.
And the other thing I want to highlight here is I I don't know the numbers, but I think it's somewhere around a gazillion dollars that Truckstop has invested into creating really cool tools
Yeah.
for things like what kind of negotiation power do
Yeah.
you have in each lane? What is the historic rates in these lanes?
Right.
You guys have some things that look forward and predict.
Correct.
There's just so much. And it might be one of the biggest frustrations inside the building is you've built all these cool tools and the small guys that you love and do this for don't use them.
Right. Well, Kevin, here's what I'll say. Look, you need to trust your gut no matter what, and I'm all for that. That's actually a part of your brain that tells you from experience what's a good decision. But when you've got the amount of data on an entire several $100 billion part of the marketplace, it would be irresponsible of you and your operation not to understand how that data can help you because it's right there. You're paying for it, and it's a benefit to you. With the all of Truckstop was created in 1995 by Scott Mosgrove for carriers. It is direct. It's not complicated to get into and get out of, and to be a benefit for carriers to understand the marketplace from all on how freight moves and what are the negotiation tactics you need and what are the negotiation advantages or disadvantages in different marketplaces. But also it gives you the opportunity to have access to almost 10,000 brokers. So
Hey,
it's an amazing collection of information for you to go to that you don't have to go do the work yourself.
I just had another thought on something you and I should change when
Yeah.
we do this. And we do this a lot, and we got a lot more stuff coming up. And we're going to tell you about it and things we can dive so much deeper into all
Right.
these topics. But if I were to rewrite this screen, I would say explore the load board to find customers. That's the word I would use.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
just
Well, fair
call them
enough.
what they are.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Let's just
Yeah.
call them customers.
Yeah. And
Now, those
right.
customers primarily for you, they're going to be brokers.
Yeah.
Do I have time? Takes me about 2 minutes to give my favorite hack on how to do this.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, I love it. You need to give this hack. Please give it. I
Yeah,
love it.
so typically here we want to set you apart to the 1%. Here's a real easy way to do it. The other 99%, if they even think about this, they're not. They're going to go and find a load
Mm-hmm.
on the board.
Mm-hmm.
We're going there before we ever want a load, and we're looking for brokers. We're going to take it another step further, and this one changes the game. You're not going to call the broker. You are going to research brokers that are in your area in the beginning,
Correct.
and they
Yep.
handle the freight you like in the
Yep.
lanes you like. And you can do all of that research right on Truckstop, can't you, Brent?
You sure can.
It's
Absolutely.
all there. Now you find them, they're local. I'm not even sure I would send them an email or call them. I might just to set it up. I might also just knock on the door with the big pizza.
Yep.
And we won't talk about health right now. Make it
Or
a
a box of
gluten.
donuts.
Yeah, yeah. Make it a gluten-free pizza so it's at least a little healthier. We're going to knock on the door. We're going to introduce ourselves, hand them our new business card because business cards still work. They're almost
They
gone,
sure do.
but here it's going to work. And we're going to ask them, hey, I brought you guys lunch because I know you're busy, hardworking freight brokers, but I'm really interested in building a relationship with you. And I
Right.
want to talk about my operation. And if you've got some time today, I can do it right now. If not, let's schedule something and I'll come back.
Yeah.
Brent, what percentage of the industry does that put you into?
Oh my gosh. You'd be the
We
1% of the
we
1%.
we need a micrometer to measure it.
Right.
And how hard was it?
Well, it's not hard. I'll tell you this, Kevin. It's not hard. And it's hard to say no to somebody who's standing in front of you. So, yeah, I'll give you the time. Absolutely. Come on in. Now, here's another thing, Kevin. I would even recommend you bring your truck with you. If you've got
Oh,
a place to
beautiful.
park it,
Yes,
let them see your
beautiful.
equipment. Let them see your quality. Make sure it's washed. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's in good operation order so they can look at it and go, hey, that's a
Be-
sharp operator right there.
Beautiful. Brent, what's your background?
Well, you talking about my business background?
Yeah,
Oh man, it's all sales and marketing
all sales,
in the
market.
media.
Yeah.
Well, predominantly in the media world. Now I was in the textile industry for a long
It-
time, and but I've been in trucking for the last 27 years. But it's all
yeah.
sales and marketing. So it's all
And
how to present your value to the customer.
and Brent, why is it that in sales you were able to move in and out of any industry you want?
Oh, because
Sales are sales.
yeah, the application's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're always bringing value. You talk about this a lot, Kevin, KR. about bringing value. The person that delivers the most value always wins.
And you said it's hard to say no to somebody in front of you. That's a
It
huge
is.
point.
It is so
It
hard.
it
Right.
is also the biggest, I don't even know what to, it is the biggest signal that
Right.
this small carrier in front of you is the best small carrier you've encountered as a broker already.
Absolutely.
They've known you for 30 seconds and you have impressed them immensely already.
That's correct. Hey, before we swap into the Q&A, I want to talk about this because I think this is super, super important, Kevin. I mean, you and I talk about this a lot when we're live with owner operators and want to be owner operators. The tendency will be, I'm going to the shipper. I'm going to go direct to the person that's the manufacturer. That's who's going to be my customer. And I want you to talk a little bit about why there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it's the much, much bigger risks to you in your operation.
We'll go back to a couple points I made in your first year. Buy the right truck in the first year. Don't focus on stuff you shouldn't be doing, taxes, those kind of things. Later
Right.
on, you'll know enough about your business to start making some of those decisions yourself.
Right.
You've never been in business, or maybe you have and you failed. That's an even bigger red flag. I've been in business many, many times, many businesses, started them, sold them, failed
Right.
at them, learned from them. So we're going to do some things different in the first year. We could go into the statistics about how many businesses fail in the first
Oh,
year.
goodness. A
So
high percentage.
that's what drives everything I'm telling you about in the first year. You don't get to do what you want to do. You
No,
have to
you
do
don't.
what you
Yep.
need to do.
Yep.
And in this case, no matter how good you are at sales or you want to go directly to this customer and don't do it.
Right.
There's, Brent, how hard is it? Is it easier to sell a customer, especially if you a lot of people have good sales skills, are
Right.
charismatic, they'll use some of these
Right.
tricks, they'll
Right.
sell if they want, but what do you have to do after you sell a customer?
First, you have to deliver value, and then you have to be able to keep the customer. It's much harder to
You,
keep a customer than it is to sell a customer.
And it's too difficult in that first year when you're
Yeah.
going to try to rack up 130,000 miles and put away as much money as you can and be efficient and learn all
Right.
these things about business. You're
Right.
not going to be good at servicing a customer. Don't
Right.
waste your time at it. Brokers are so much better at this than you are, because they do it
Right.
every day.
Yeah.
Make the broker your customer. They are much easier to provide value to than a shipper will be.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right on that. Shippers are finicky. If you have one truck or two trucks and they're used to doing business with people that have 50 trucks or 100 trucks, they may use you for a few difficult things or timely things that they need to move right away. But it's easy for them to say no to your operation to use somebody who has 50 or 100 trucks because remember, for a shipper, that every piece of freight is just a cost. It's just a cost to them. It's not a profit center. To the broker, it's a profit center. So you're both motivated to do a great job. Kevin,
That's a great point.
we need to jump to questions, but we can come back to that if we have some time at the end. So fantastic. All those points coming through. So let's talk about the first question. What do we got, Alan?
Sure. So I want to say thank you both for your knowledge and expertise. I was taking down notes as a student of yours as well. Just a quick recap to everyone. Be sure to follow along the workbook. There are links in the chat. It's on the website. You can download it. There are fields for you to fill in the blank and go along with all the topics. I love the customer first approach, provide value, and Kevin, you sharing value is price and service. What a great piece of information. Mindset. I feel like you always circle back to mindset, and that's so important when running a business in anything we do, really. Number two was financial safety net. So cash flow, right? When you said like manage your net worth and your cost of living, so your expenses, then I think like cash flow, right? So that's the
Right.
nugget that I took away there. Brent, thank you for sharing on like issues, major mechanical issues and or health crisis. Huge. And I think we forget about that, right? Like how important our health is in order to actually operate a
Right.
business. Then right equipment, business structure, clients. So that leads into the first question. Brenda, I saw you raise your hand. If you can chat in your question, that would be great. One of the first questions, came in stating my business is currently established as an LLC. What's the difficulty level of changing to an S corp?
Okay, this is where I didn't want to get into the weeds unless we had a question. And I have a question for the question.
Right.
An LLC, without getting too deep into it, isn't a federally recognized organization. The IRS does not recognize LLCs. It's a state designation. So then you have to, after you file your LLC, you have to tell the IRS how you want to be taxed. And in order to answer the question directly, I would need to know that. So if we can get that feedback, if not, I'll just explain. The best way to set up an LLC, and I would actually set up an LLC taxed as an S corp. So we're back to that. We're going to start as an S corp, but they could potentially be an LLC taxed as a sole proprietor, or they could be an LLC taxed as a partnership. And then we would just have to go through the paperwork process. I don't want to talk about how difficult it is because you shouldn't be doing it. Just pay somebody to do it.
Right.
If whoever set up your LLC knew what they were doing and understood your operation, they would have set you up to be taxed as an S corp. It's a pretty simple thing.
Yep.
All right.
Fantastic.
And the response was taxed as a sole proprietor.
Okay, so this is a don't be insulted by this, or if you are, I really don't care. This is a worthless entity. The LLC does not protect you from any kind of liability whatsoever. And because you're being taxed as a sole proprietor, you have no tax advantage either. So you do want to turn this into an LLC taxed as an S corp.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Yep,
Hopefully that helps answer that question. The next one is maybe for you, Brent.
Yeah.
Is Truckstop good for straight trucks?
Oh my goodness. Well, I saw that question come up while we were about midway through. So thanks for asking that question. That's been a big part of the industry. The quick answer question is yes. During the pandemic, for about a 6-month period, the number one person that was signing up for Truckstop were hotshot carriers and expedite carriers because loads were at $5 or $6 or $7 or name your price, right? So yes, there's now a designation on our load board that says hotshot. As a matter of fact, if you go on to YouTube, there's even some videos that we've created and others have created on how to maximize getting loads that are hotshot or are for straight trucks in the marketplace. So now your GVW is obviously different. What you carry is different. Your operational functionality and flexibility can be a little different. So, but
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a little confused about this, I have a feeling everybody else might be too.
Okay.
At Truckstop, are you lumping straight truck in with hotshot?
Well, I'm saying that there's hotshot type loads there that are lower GVW trucks because obviously
You said there was like a designation, and
Right.
that's what I want to get to help them use the load board, right? So
Right.
if I have a straight truck, am I going to am I going to look for loads designated as a hotshot? Because in the industry, they're really treated as two very different things.
Right. Correct. Yeah. I guess maybe we put them in one category. So I would say that look there first. You can always look under general freight, depending on what you're doing as far as a straight truck is concerned. Now, is it going to be a box truck or is it an open deck?
Here's my advice here. So we don't get too deep into the weeds on this.
Yep.
Truckstop has an awesome team that you could call them and they will help you with this directly.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Kevin, for saying that. Yeah, absolutely. We've got 2 different levels of team. We have a standard sales team that can help you do searching ahead of time and even look for freight before you're a customer. Now you can't sign up for the freight until you're an independently licensed owner operator, but we could tell you what's available. And then once you're a customer, we have a customer success team that can help you really refine how you use the product itself. So
yeah,
we're all for your success on the platform.
All right, thank you. Next question is, what's the best formula for calculating your cost per mile?
So the easy way to remember this is cost per mile is cost divided by miles. So you take any cost that you have of operation, whether it's your cost of fuel, your cost of maintenance, your cost of tolls, and you divide it by the number of miles you ran. Now, you need to set a time frame. So if we want to know the cost per mile for our fuel last month, we would need two numbers: the total money you spent on fuel last month and the total number of miles you ran. And then it's cost divided by miles. Cost per mile equals cost divided by miles.
Right. So Kevin, I want to make sure you clarify this, because some people will say, well, in my cost, do I need to put paying myself in there? Or
No,
do I
not
not put paying
now.
myself? Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah.
Leave it out, because I don't have to explain a bunch of complicated reasons what
Right.
happens when we start putting it in. So
Right.
what we're looking for primarily, and let's simplify it even more. If you've never calculated these numbers, start with fuel and maintenance only. Don't do anything else, because fuel and maintenance is going to be about 90% of your operation anyway, or darn close to it.
Right.
Maybe 70, 75.
Yeah.
But
Put
so
insurance in, yeah, insurance in there as
yeah, I
well.
forgot about insurance.
Mhm.
So start slow, and don't even calculate insurance right now, because there's not much you can do about it. But
Right.
fuel and maintenance, we can do a lot. So
Yeah.
focus on those. Don't overwhelm yourself with the numbers, and keep it simple.
Well, that's true. When you're splitting up your cost, you've got fixed cost, which insurance will be a fixed cost because you're going to pay for insurance over a 12-month period. And then you've got variable cost, which would be your fuel consumption cost, and then your maintenance cost per mile. So those would be a variable cost
Right.
on your vehicle itself. All right. What else we got, Alan?
All right. What mile per gallon is needed or needs to be fair on the fuel that you're burning?
Wait,
Good one.
there's one word in there that totally threw me off. It's a word I hate. We should banish it from our language. I don't understand fair in this question. I don't
Right. Well,
understand
it's
fair
true.
in anything, but
Business isn't about fair. Right?
yeah. I'm not sure.
I think maybe just misused that word, Kevin. He said, I would say, what's the
Here's
minimum mileage that's required for you to
Yeah. So
not lose money against fuel
and
cost in the marketplace?
I'm going to give a general piece of advice here that will really
Yeah.
help. Questions are powerful, and we should take time to think about and learn
Mhm.
even how to
Mhm.
ask better questions. Because I do this and I've done it for a very, very long time, I love answering questions, and I love helping people ask a better question. Nothing's required, nothing's mandatory, nothing's fair. So those words will even confuse you asking
Right.
it that way. And I
Right.
can't answer it that way. I can give, here's my approach on this. I will achieve the best fuel mileage possible in every situation.
Mhm.
I'll set up my truck for what I know I'm going to do most of the time. If I'm going to pull light, fast, expedited freight, that's one setup. If I'm going to pull heavy freight with lots of horrible, ugly aerodynamics, that's another one. My
Right.
customer, who do I want this is why we plan the whole business before we plan the equipment. We plan the equipment once we know who our customer is, and then we build it to be as fuel efficient as possible. There is no maximum
Yeah.
number for
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
then we operate it in each situation. Here's a quick example. If fuel prices are high and freight rates are low, I'm going to slow down all the
Yep.
way down to 55 miles an hour at times. There are times, though, when fuel is cheap and freight rates are booming, I might be pushing 70 and 75 on some loads because it makes sense. But it is something I think about and choose every day.
Right. Kevin, let me ask you this question. So I know you and I have talked a lot of time about the fuel surcharge index, and in the spot market, everything's negotiated one load at a time. So there's no fuel surcharge built into it. So there's no reason for it. However, there is a sort of national standard now for how fuel mileage is set. It's about 6.5 miles to the gallon. So is it fair to say that if you were getting better than 6.5 miles to the gallon, that you would be ahead of the curve when it comes to like cost in the spot market when freight is posted for the marketplace?
An interesting statistic I would like to see is, because this is written into contract
Right.
freight, I would like to know if 6.5 is the predominant number. It's been 6 forever.
Right. I think it
It-
got moved up to 6.5 less than 2 years ago because I started
okay.
asking the questions inside of
You,
the spot market for the owner
yeah,
operators out there. I said
let's,
I called a lot of brokers and said, "Hey, do you put a fuel surcharge in your freight that you offer?" And they looked at me like, "Well, of course we don't. It's just a transactional freight." Now they go
correct,
with
right,
market forces.
right.
So I was just wondering
We,
about
yeah, we could get deep into the weeds here, and I know we don't have time. One of the things I
Right.
want to make clear, that calculation, there is no official calculation. It's like
Right.
everything else. It's negotiated between
Right.
two parties. So we're talking
Right.
about what the norm is.
Right.
Here's what fuel surcharge does. Fuel surcharge makes the real cost of fuel per mile static, whether fuel is $2 a gallon or
Right.
$12 a gallon. Your profit, if you are getting the calculated fuel surcharge and you get exactly 6.5 miles to the gallon, if that's the number we're using, your profit will not change by 1 penny.
Right.
That's how a fuel surcharge is supposed to work. That creates a huge advantage or a huge disadvantage. And
Right.
this is why
Right.
fuel mileage is so if if the calculation is at 6.5 miles to the gallon and fuel spikes way up and you get 8.5 miles to the gallon, those 2 miles per gallon are pure bonus. Goes
Right.
straight to the bottom
Sure
line.
that.
The guy getting 6.5 is just static. The guy
Right.
getting 5.5 is about to go out of business.
Right.
There are times, and when I say this, people look at me like you're an idiot. You belong at the liar's counter at the truck stop. This is absolutely true. I have many truck owners who get paid to put fuel in their tank.
So to define that, what do you mean by paid? You can put fuel in their tank.
Their fuel surcharge has exceeded their cost of fuel per mile.
Right.
So they are being paid to put fuel in the tank.
Wow.
They have zero fuel cost, and they're now collecting money every time they have to buy fuel. That's
Okay.
in essence what's happening. But that
Well,
only happens because you get way better than the average fuel economy.
right. Well, I
My
appreciate
best
you. Go ahead.
example, I have a couple of people on our Friday shows all about fuel mileage. They're all north of 10 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, I know. Well, which is incredible because every mile per gallon you go above is every cent. It's just an
That's
amazing, it's
yeah.
amazing return to your profit. So hey, we got 4 minutes left, and I want to take one more question, and then Alan, if you'll wrap it up for us once we do that. So let's get one more question in, see if we can get in for a couple of minutes, and then make sure we end on time and be respectful of everybody that came to the webinar.
Sure. There are a number of questions, so if we don't get to everyone, we can definitely respond. Go ahead and email as well. I know that in the
Absolutely.
invitation, you can reach out to any of us, and it does come to me as far as an email goes, so I will get answers for you or respond. The last question that we'll end with, and then a quick announcement as we go into our next series will
Right.
be, will most customers or folks using the load board want
Right.
to work with someone who has new authority?
Oh, oh, here
Uh,
we go.
uh,
Here we
uh,
go.
I'll
Kevin.
tackle it from the real world.
Yeah.
They don't want to. And most of the reason they don't want to comes down to freight fraud and liability and a bunch of other things. It's not that they don't necessarily want to, it's that the rules and the regulations and the situation have kind of forced them to.
I think it's part of it. Yeah,
But
that's probably more than a little bit more than half of it. Yeah.
and I'll let you cover that, Brent. Here's how
Yeah.
I approach things like this. Mindset. Alan, thank you for reminding me that all of this comes back to mindset.
Right.
You can have the mindset of those lousy brokers, what a bunch of jerks.
Right.
That's what most people are going to do. Or you can have the mindset of this is just an opportunity. I'm going to
Right.
sell them on why they should use me. None of those rules are set in stone unless you're working with big corporate brokers who just don't change anything. And that's
Right.
not your market. Your
Right.
market is small brokers like you're a small company, and you sell them on why they should use you. Brent, you had one of the best examples of this, and I just love this guy. He was on your show. He's coming on my show. Follow Millennial Trucker anywhere you can find the guy on social media because he is killing it, and he's overcome all of these things in his first year.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about Ilya.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what I think about is the example that you've given with take their worst load. First off, prove that you're good at it. In other words, take your time. If you were a company driver, usually here's the pathway. It's about 7 years as a company driver, and then you start the process of going into leased owner operator, then to independent. But it's about a 7-year process. So in reality, you're not new to the industry. So you know how to drive, deliver on time, do a great job, all those sort of things. You just need to prove that to the broker or the shipper you do business with, predominantly the broker. And so back to Kevin's point about just go see them. And then if you used to work for a large carrier in the marketplace, they're happy to give you recommendations on your performance. And if you take that to a broker, if you take that to a broker and you understand the business and you understand their business, in other words, what type of freight do they, there's 3 types of freight. You can look that on some of the Truckstop webinars that we put on the types of freight. If you understand how they're running their business, and I love Kevin always does this when we're on stage, he'll say, go to them and say, I'll take your worst load. I'll take the one you hate to move, the one you make no money on. Kevin, expand that one.
Ilya, no, you just did. That's all it is. Just give me your worst load. But Ilya won up to me on that one.
Yeah.
Ilya advertised that he would do the first load for free.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes.
Oh, my.
Great point.
Yeah. And look, you might say, well, that guy's just an idiot. No, go look at his performance and then tell me he's an idiot.
Yeah. And he had the cash flow to do it, is why he could do it.
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic.
We're right in time, pal, so close it out. Yeah. He is becoming a rock star in the broker world. He really is. That's the customer world. That's a good way to put it. I was blown away by his professionalism and his just mindset on things. So, man, what a fantastic webinar. Thank you so much, Kevin, for all your points and everything. As usual, you hit a home run every single time. So wrap us up for us, Alan.
Sure. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you and your knowledge. Thank you, everyone who joined attending.
Yeah, thank you.
Trucking Mastery. Up deck next is our 3rd episode. It is scheduled for March the 19th. Same time, same place. We will be on Zoom, so keep your eyes open for that invitation, and we will catch you next time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.